impressive. They tried to knock you out. They tried to kick you where it hurts. You got up, you kept going. That was in there.
I think they know the writing's on the wall. Maguire, Senior, back to Maguire. Gary Maguire for Leeds. The young hero to win the grand final,
Hi everybody, welcome to the Lot Pod, excuse me, the Leeds Rhinos Lot 17A podcast, kindly sponsored by ACD&B, who are a branding and creative design agency based in Farsley, Leeds. They do create standout brands. So if any companies out there need a brand new logo or a brand refresh, just get in touch with ACD&B. Thanks as always to them for sponsoring us on the podcast with the fanzine. We absolutely love ACD&B. This is the match review panel for Hull versus Leeds Rhinos. Joining me as always, my name's Eddie, by the way. Joining me as always, my right-hand man, my co-host, but our amazing stats man. Statman Reese.
I'm a stat man.
Freeze.
Oh, sorry. How the devil are you?
Sorry, let me clear my throat like you did. Yeah, very good, thank you. I've had a lovely Sunday roast at my mum's, which was probably the most inappropriate dinner on a Sunday for this weather. But it's nice that summer's finally arrived.
I don't think there's ever... I think you can eat a Sunday roast, whatever the weather.
I don't know, I feel it's more than like an autumn-winter thing. I don't know.
Really?
It's very wholesome, isn't it? It's just warm.
So are you one of these people who lives by food laws? For instance, would you have pizza for breakfast?
If I was hanging out my arse, probably, yeah.
But if you were just stone cold sober, would you put a pizza in the oven at 7 a.m?
No,
I don't live by
not.
these pretend food laws, me. I would, if I'm hungry, I'll have a curry for breakfast.
Maybe one for the mailbag because we actually won this weekend. So we don't have to deflect. We don't have to go on tangents.
What am I doing?
You've gone back into your usual routine.
I'm so used to like deflecting and wanting to talk about something else that we can actually talk about and win. Who's on with us to review this one?
We've got our Hull resident, who is a Leeds fan, or Hull-ish resident, I believe. But the most eloquent... Sorry, yeah. But the most eloquent guest that we have.
Don't let Cameron hear you say that.
Yeah, well, he's better at writing stuff down. We've got the best eloquent speaker of our guests with us today. Ian, how are you?
Hello, everybody. How are you? Yes, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for welcoming me again to your humble abode.
See,
you're welcome.
I told you.
Reese warned you. You are welcome, as always. So this is the match review panel for Hull versus Leeds Rhinos. Have you got
I just like to clarify beforehand, I don't live in Hull.
You live near Hull,
I
don't you?
say that. I said,
well, you can see it in the distance. It's 30 miles.
That's too close, to be fair. But yeah, go on.
So this is the match review panel for Hull, where Ian does not live, versus Leeds Rhinos. We start in true Lot Pod fashion with positives. Ian, you went to the game. What positives can Leeds Rhinos, can us as Leeds fans take from this one?
I know many of you couldn't make it due to train strikes and various reasons and Saturday afternoons, etc. However, if you've ever been to a game at the KC, MKM, MFI, or whatever it's called this week stadium, you'll probably have a fair idea as to how it went. So Leeds were pretty good in the first half. They got a try just after half time. Then there was a little bit of a brief resurgence from Hull, and then we blew them away at the end. So basically, a good performance all round. And if you listen to the whole fans afterwards, they said, "Oh, it was two bad teams." But you know, if you think we're having a bad season, then you have a look at how Hull FC were. They were absolutely shocking. So it was a great game, and as I say, a good display all round. Mr. Sam Lasoni, of course, should be mentioned in dispatches for his 3 tries and barnstorming performance.
Some rumour that he is actually the best on earth.
Yes,
that's right. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. But I mean, far be it from me to suggest and also as well, if you're going to go down that road, he was making circles in the sand yesterday as well.
I'd rather be a bad side that wins. If someone says it's 2 bad sides, as long as we win, I don't care whether it's.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'll take that as well. Worthy mentions for Mr. Fussy Tour, who was not injured yesterday and had interceptions and they coughed up a couple more, but a couple of interceptions. Mr. Luke Hooley as well, who I think may feature on some of my comments later on. He had a good game, but generally a good all-round performance from the folks there. Jack Sinfield. Let's not put too much pressure on him, but he slotted in nicely as well, and fingers and thumbs and everything crossed for him in terms of how he develops.
Yeah, absolutely.
And generally, let's put it this way: even the much maligned Darryl Oliphant's had a good game. So there we are.
Wow! Oh my God!
I was there when it happened.
When you say he had a good game, you didn't do anything wrong. He didn't stand out. He just didn't do an alters.
Well, he was fairly competent on the wing. Hull were trying to sort of pressure to him and kick to him. Yeah. He didn't cough the ball up. He held on to it, and looked reasonably okay.
Looked like a rugby league player. Reese.
Well, yeah.
Positives from you?
I think Lasone is obviously number 1.
Yes,
isn't it? And I think
he'll have his own section.
Yeah, he's going to have his own section, but there is no requirement for Lasone to apply to the prop forwards union, because running 40 meters, stepping a fullback gives you automatic membership. Yeah. Which, as we know, unfortunately,
unless it's the opposite and they've actually ejected him for doing that.
Yeah, or maybe he disqualifies because that shouldn't be allowed. I think poor Barry, I think he tweeted the second try.
That was brilliant.
That's enough now. Lasone, stop. And obviously then there was the third one. But I text you about this, Eddie, but the thing I love about that third try more than anything isn't the step. It's the fact as soon as Martin gets the ball, Lasone puts the gas on. And he spots it. And it's not Reece Martin. It wasn't Reece Martin that noticed the gap and Lasone was there. Lasone drove to that gap and Reece noticed he had to make that pass.
Like a fullback or a halfback.
Yeah, so it wasn't the sidestep was sublime. And Jamie Shaw's going to be sitting out in his nightmares for years. That's going to be...
Still spinning. It's still crocodile rolling on the pitch.
Can you imagine a video session in Hull on Monday going, right, Jamie, you've got to watch this, mate. That is a, 18-stone prop, maybe 17-stone prop, how big he is?
17.
Stepped you. But no, I thought the best thing about the try was, as I said, as soon as Reece got the ball, Lasone put the gas on and he knew exactly where to go, and that drove that try. Lasone had 10 carries, by the way.
Wow.
He scored with 3 of them.
Bloody hell.
So Lasone's number 1 for me. A name that wasn't mentioned by Ian, and a name that's not been mentioned by a couple of people online and after the game, was James McDonnell.
Yeah.
2 assists, a sublime kick that put Luke Hooley through for the first try, and outrageous offload. We've got an offload of the season contender, I think, now. I know Nene's was incredible the other week, but the one that he did for Fussy's try was, again, an outstanding offload, and McDonnell's a great player, and he's not really stood out in recent weeks, but it's been really good to see him stand out a lot more. So I've got other positives, but they're kind of not related to the game. But shall I mention them later, or shall I mention them now?
Go for it now. Why not? No
Blake
time at the present.
Blake Austin's clearly turning Castleford around, so that's
he's doing
positive.
a great job.
Really good job there. Really good job.
Agreed.
In fact, I would go as far as to say that's now Agent Austin.
Yeah, it's Agent Austin. Yeah, He needs to go play for Saints next.
Well
That
done,
might help
agent.
Wakefield
We'll say no more. It's highly classified.
So yeah, that was good. And then our Leeds Rhinos girls abroad scoring tries down in the NRL. Both Fran Goldthorpe and Georgia Roche getting some tries this weekend. Fran's was particularly great. Awesome. So they were two other positives that I've taken that just happened in the Leeds Rhinos universe this weekend, because there still are players, despite the fact they're playing.
Yeah, they're just on loan, aren't they, for a few years?
Just on
they're coming back to us. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I've got very similar. Obviously, Sambo Lisoni for his hat trick, but we'll come on to him in greater depth soon. I've got Jack Sinfield because I forgot who he was. I didn't realise he still played for Leeds Rhinos. I thought, who is this young lad? Is he a mascot that's around the pitch and we should be dragging him off? So it was great to see Jack play at last. And the weather looked immaculate, summer rugby. On to the game. I think a good starting point, Ian, is that man, Jack Sinfield, because on this platform, on this podcast in particular, and probably across social media and Leeds fans across the world have been either asking, questioning or demanding to see Jack Sinfield. How did he perform against Hull, Ian?
Well, I thought he had a good game. I thought he slotted in really well. I think he is the player for the future, and Leeds are perhaps doing it a little bit sensibly in terms of they're not throwing him in too much. The other thing is that, and I know folks have been clamouring for him all season, but the lad's had his A-levels up until very recently. And perhaps the club have taken the pragmatic view of get the A-levels, which will guarantee his future, or will certainly help secure his future going forward before throwing him in. And to be honest, depending on how things go, because we're tenuously hanging on to the playoffs and the possibility, always they chanted yesterday, we'll win it from ninth. Which was very good. That you can imagine the letters from the League Express if we do go and win it from ninth. The thing is, we're kind of reaching that point very soon where if we do blow the playoffs, it might as well be worthwhile for the last sort of 3-4 games of the season of just throwing the kids in and just say, look, win or lose, we don't care. It's not going to make a massive difference in the grand scheme of things. Play without pressure. And go and do what you want to do. And if it works and it comes off, then great, build your confidence. If it doesn't work, then it's still going to build your confidence, because ultimately at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, gaining experience.
I think the thing with Sinfield is, I don't think he particularly stood out yesterday, but he finally got given the opportunity to potentially stand out. And even if he doesn't stand out, it's minutes. It's minutes at Super League level against... there's some big players in that whole side. And like Ian says, there probably isn't that much pressure on it, because whilst we are still in the playoff race somehow, it might mean that those minutes are more important than anything else, I think, for Jack. So I think it's really good that I know there was an exceptional kick that he did at one point. And it's nice to be honest, we've all wanted it. I mean, I ran a poll before the game, what we thought or what fans thought the halfback option should be. And interestingly, the most common vote was actually for Gannon and Sinfield to play in the halves with 40%.
Sorry, Reece. Was it for the rest of the season?
No, just for the whole game.
Oh, for that game, right?
Just for the whole game, and 39% wanted Martin and Sinfield. But obviously, the option with Sinfield was what people wanted to see. So we finally got to see it. But I think the most important thing for Jack is just minutes and experience at this level as an 18-year-old. When in reality, not a lot of things are riding on the line other than, I hate to say this, but pride and winning.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of touch on it there about him not standing out, and I agree. But it's very difficult for him to do that as well, because he just jumped in. It's like he comes in for the game, then he's gone for 8, 9, 10, however many. So, like Ian says there, and I completely agree, that consistency. So if we stick with him now and say, right, till the end of the year, right through to the grand final, you are playing in the halves, starting for us. Show us what you've got. And that's kind of like his audition to say, right, could this kid potentially be one of our starting halfbacks, or certainly more involved in the first team squad than he is this year, next season? Let's find that out. He could play the every game for the rest of the year, score a couple of tries, a couple of assists, and we all go, wow, maybe he's more developed than we thought.
You better be careful here, gentlemen, because I'm going to go off on. I mean, potentially, if you give me the brevity, I will go off on one of my famous rants. But if you have a look at the general situation of what we're in, we were incredibly lucky with the golden generation that we had probably 7 or 8 players who all came through that were all sort of, crackerjack class at the same time. Now that probably happens once in the proverbial blue moon. So let's have a look at the other options that you've got. We may not be developing youth team players or players through our youth setup at the moment. We may be in future years. They may be coming through. But at the moment, we probably haven't got players that can slot in to be the new golden generation. So the next thing that you've got to do is then where are you going to get those players from? Well, the next best option is probably to pick them out of the championship, which is what we've done with Hooley, which we've done with a few other players. But unfortunately, they're not going to turn into Super League players overnight, and you have got to integrate them into the team and into the game. Now, I know Hooley had a shocker at Hull KR. I know he had a dodgy ankle, and I know he was thrown in at the deep end, but he's gone back off to Batley on loan. He's taken them to Wembley and has come back a far better player. But the fact is that development has got to take place in the team, and this was the big problem with towards the end of the golden generation, is that we didn't integrate new players to carry things going forward. The other options then is that you buy players off contract or you buy players in Australia, but the fact is that's going to be expensive. And I know folks have been raving about Smith in recent weeks and he should be sacked and he's not going anywhere, but the fact is you are not instantly overnight going to generate a team that is going to challenge, but the idea is that you've got to go and pick those players, pick them from the championship, pick them from, the sources of where you can and bring them through and develop them. But the fact is that all takes time. And unfortunately, there is a section of our support that thinks it should happen instantly. And realistically, they need to sort of give their heads a bit of a wobble and understand that it doesn't happen overnight. When Smith arrived, it was said that generally it's going to be a 3-season project, and we're probably halfway through, 2/3 of the way through now. If it's still garbage at this time next year, then this is when we're going to be kind of looking around and saying, hang on a minute, this may not be working. What we're going to do? But Sinfield is coming through as perhaps one of our bright young players. We've got a few other bright young players there. I know everyone's going to write in and say, well, what about Tom Walters? Why is he going? Well, he's going because he's a Wigan lad and he wants to go back to Wigan. I mean, he's mad, but he wants to. So that's if after spending time in the promised land, if you want to go back to the wilderness, then off you go. But the thing is with that is it's if you've ever. I mean, I worked in London for a couple of years, and I did a stint in London for a couple of years, and but when I had the chance, I wanted to be back up north for cheap beer and cheap house prices. You know what I mean? So.
I completely understand your point, Ian, but Sinfield needs minutes at this level to develop. And
absolutely,
the frustration has been, why is he not? We've had plenty of opportunity in recent games to play him, but I'm pleased that he finally got his opportunity today. I noticed in the announcement for the 21, they pretty much said Sinfield will be playing. Whether that's a response to people's comments, I don't know, but it's good that he's got his opportunity, but I just hope this is not his only opportunity for the rest of the season. I think really now the season needs to see out. Now he's had that spot versus Hull, and he's had a chance. He's had a fairly good game. He didn't really do anything wrong, didn't do anything amazing right, apart from that really good kick. But he needs to be given those minutes and that opportunity to develop, and really for us to really decide, because we haven't really seen him play. I know there'll be people in the comments and who listen to this that have watched the reserves and have watched the academy, they've seen him play. Super League's a different level. And he needs to be given that opportunity to play. So I'm really pleased that he got the opportunity on Saturday. Although I would prefer him to play with an actual other halfback in partnership and not a second row.
Yes,
in future.
I think it's, again, as I said earlier, I think it's the viewers as well, is that the club has also taken the view that his A levels are fairly important as well. So and he's been studying for those up to the middle of the season, and obviously doing those. You want a bit of time off once he's done that, and now he's in. So if things don't work out, it's going to secure his future either way. So
he doesn't need those when he's going to give us a drop goal in a grand final next year.
No,
right?
I know, but
this year, sorry,
yeah,
from 9th, we'll do it from 9th.
Ian's just confirmed we're going to do it from 9th.
But I think the club has been sensible in allowing to do those with not too much pressure on.
Yeah,
absolutely. Back to the game, Hull versus Leeds. Someone who we haven't really spoken much about at all this year, really. Maybe in parts. Reece Martin. I don't think it can be overlooked how key his kicking game was yesterday. Seemed to be slotting him over from everywhere. Without doubt, one of our best signings over recent years. Played him at halfback again yesterday with Sinfield, Reece. He's now played the biggest majority of the year at centre. He is a back row, playing halfback. What's his best position now? Is it halfback?
Part of me hopes that him playing him playing centre for the majority of the year might bring something to his second row game a bit more next year when we can actually play him in second row. Although, given recent rumours, he could be wearing a number 4 shirt. We don't know. But, yeah, I think Reece it's a shame that Reece hasn't been able to play in second row because last year in that position, he was the player of the season.
Do you feel then, sorry, Reece, do you feel that with him playing centre, we do lose something then? Or
I think we do because I think I like the complementary pairing of a workhorse second row, i.e. your Bentleys or your McDonald that just run around the pitch and just tackle everything that moves. And then the more attacking focused second row. But I mean, McDonald has that to his game as well. But I've quite liked that sort of split between the two.
Yeah.
But I do feel like we might not have seen the best of Reece. Has still had a very good season.
Yeah.
I think he was top try scorer, if still not, at one point for us. I just think that we probably won't have seen a repeat of last year because we have been playing in a slightly less favourable position.
Yeah.
But he still put the performances in, week out. You don't hear him complaining. He never moans about, you talk about people wanting to do it for the badge and playing 100%, and people you want to keep around. He's a sort of player that is a focal point of what we should be building around.
Do you agree with that, Ian, Reece Martin?
I think the simple thing is he plays where he wants. He plays where he wants. He's Reece Martin. He plays where he wants.
I think it's more he plays where he's told, to be honest.
Yeah.
Plays where he's told and does it very well.
Yeah.
Well, as you may have picked up of my newspaper column in recent weeks, I think he's now occupied 27 different positions for Leeds, including video referee twice and substituted for Gary Hetherington on one occasion. So, he's everywhere. That water gets in less places.
Have you got some stats for us, Reece?
I do, actually, yeah. In fact, I'm going to make this a slight little game this week because, instead of me reading it out, I'm going to make
That's game.
Going to make you guess. So, most meters. Who's your bet?
Lasone.
Ian, what's your bet for most meters?
I would possibly. What about Big Mick?
No, you're both wrong. It's Fussy Tua. So Fussy Tua had 162 meters.
Wow, yes.
In second place was his counterpart on the other wing with Daryl Alford.
Daryl Dio. Wow.
147.
Wow.
Cameron Smith, 136. And no one else broke the 100 barrier. Sam Walters was actually the leading forward on the day with 95. Masone, believe it or not, only had 85 meters.
I thought you were going to say like 48.
I really enjoy Lasone's stats because it's 10 carries, 85 meters, so 8.5 meters per carry. He's got 3 clean breaks and 3 tries. So obviously every clean break he's got a try. But like 30% of his carries he scored with, which I find quite interesting. Leading tackler, it's only a guess between 2 people.
I'm
going to say Jared.
Ian?
Yeah, I would have probably said Jared as well.
No, you're both wrong again. It's Cameron Smith. Cameron Smith got 55. Jared 55. Was, unfortunately, quite a long way off with 41.
Wow, Jared. So, that's an off day, lad.
and James McDonnell was third with 39 on the night as well. But interestingly, the most carries it wasn't held by Cameron Smith. Daryl Alfords touched the ball more than any other Rhino on Saturday.
Wow.
With
So
23
it would ring
carries.
true with what Ian said earlier then about Daryl
Yeah.
actually having a good game.
Yeah. So those are the main stats. The tackle breaks. Cameron and Lasone had 4. A couple of players with 2. Fussy Tua and Newman both had 3. Something that's consistently quite high is offloads and who leads that week in, week out, and that's Harry Newman. So Harry Newman had 4 offloads on the day. McDonnell with 3. So they're the main sort of stats that I have picked out from the game.
This might put you on your toes. Yeah, I'll drop this on your toes. Sorry.
Thanks.
162 meters. Who's had higher than that this year? Ash.
We've had someone break over. We've had someone break over the 200 barrier this year.
I think it was Nene.
Nene broke over 200, I think.
So 162 from Fussy Tua there, Ian. I mean, we've spoke about Fussy Tua. We spoke about him on the last podcast about him. He's in and out of the team, but it's so difficult in terms of him getting a new deal when he's running up stats like this. It sounds cliche and quite stupid to say, but when he plays, he's not bad.
He looked very dangerous yesterday, and he got, I can probably now thinking about it, looking at the meters, he got those through, a couple of interceptions, and he coughed up a couple of others as well.
Yeah.
So he was really clocking up the yards, going almost huge distances when he got his interceptions. I think the massive problem is with him if he was fit. If he was fit, a couple of things. One, we probably wouldn't be in the position that we were in the league, because he would probably, we would probably be banking on his tries far more, or there would be far more of his tries. Therefore, we would win games and be far further up the league than we probably are. But the fitness is an issue, really. And is he in long enough? Is he consistent long enough? I'm just looking at some of the comments, and I see Tommy G's there, and yeah, he's right. He is in and out too much. If he was in much more, then a new contract shouldn't be a problem. It's one of those funny ones of, do we gamble on him being fit, or do we move on and look at somebody else?
Have you ever felt like this? Because Reese, last week we were saying with Duncan about him, he's not fit again, and we all were. I can't remember if we all kind of said, how can we give this guy a contract because he plays one game and then misses a few? But I mean, these stats, I can't remember the time I felt this way about the Rhinos re-signing or offering someone a new deal, in that he plays, he racks up these numbers, scores, and you're like, well, he's on the field as one of the best in the league, but then next week he's in the stands. I've never been so torn.
I sit with you in this as well, because I really love Fussy when he's on the pitch, and I think he fits Rowan's model perfectly. Rowan loves people that can carry from the back out, on the kick returns, and I think Fussy's got a bit of work to do in defence still, because I think he got caught again on Saturday, but his ability to carry out from the back and put us on the front foot on the first or second tackle is part of our game and part of our tactics, and I think we certainly miss it when he's not on the pitch. I don't think Tyndall doesn't do that, unfortunately, because he runs sideways, as does Alford.
He's off to Hull.
Apparently, he's literally going sideways to Hull. Alford's not quite the same, actually, according to the stats, and I think, but you can see that Ash is the same. When he gets the ball, he gets 10 meters on the first carry every time, on first tackle. He puts you on the front foot, and I think losing that from Fussy is a massive loss. But equally, we need it every week. But is there someone that we can bring in that can do it every week? I don't think there is a better option than Fussy available to us at this moment in time. For me, I think I'd keep him, but we need to look. There needs to be some work on his injuries and on his body, and see if we can help him in any way. Because when he's on the pitch,
rebuild him. He can be remade.
When he's on the pitch, he's an absolute asset.
The question would be is probably going forward is how many wingers do we need? So obviously we've got Fussy, obviously we've got Ash Hanley, then we've got Darryl for another year, and then have we got anybody coming up through through the youth team, through the ranks? You got your likes of your, is it Alfie? Does Alfie Edgell play wing? I think there's a couple of kids in the youth team that look pretty quick and pretty fast. You know, the question is do we need any more than 3 or 4? And in which case, can we maybe take a risk on him in terms of trying to keep him fit for the season? And if he is fit, then he will be devastating. I mean, when I first got him, I thought he'd be top try scorer.
I did.
Or potentially going to be near top try scorer. But the injuries have hammered him. If he had a decent run, he would be up there, probably knocking in 15, 20 tries a season, particularly on the way that he was running about yesterday.
Agreed. Well, we have to talk about one man. We've briefly talked about him, but we have to dive in with both feet here. Sam Lasoni scored a hat-trick. It's the first hat-trick by a forward or a prop since JP versus Celtic Crusaders in 2009. First of all, 2009, in my mind, is like 3 years ago. So I don't know how the time has flown so quickly. And 2009 is well over a decade away.
I think I was in year 10.
Yep, there we go.
I know I wasn't.
Lasoni, Ian, like we said before, you were there. Just how good was he yesterday?
It was a big handful, and literally he just kept popping up everywhere and popping up at the right moments. And Hull really couldn't deal with him really. So no, he was great yesterday, and he was loving the little chants, and he was I think he was getting the vibe yesterday. So yeah, long may it continue. He's another handful.
We kind of said last week. Oh, sorry, Reece, go ahead.
As I said, I think with Lasoni, I think he thrives a bit on the fan interaction a bit, and he thrives a bit on momentum, a bit of confidence. And I think that I know there's a song that's being sung by the fans at the moment, but I think he reacts to that. You know, that game against Huddersfield when he did that carry. Yeah, I think that is a reaction based on the atmosphere, and I think that momentum that's being built. And maybe I don't think if it's even a confidence thing. It might be a confidence thing for him, but I think he certainly thrives on that attention towards him from the fans. But there was a lot of instinct on Saturday. If you look at his tries, it was the first one. Can't remember which order it was now, but there was one where he passed it to Donaldson. It was a really good pass. It was a really good line of ball. But his instinct was to make sure he was available for the offload. So, you know, instead of just sitting off and going for the next play, it was his instinct to be in the right position. And that's Donaldson's first assist of the season, by the way, as well. And then there's the one where he took the carry off Jared O'Connor off a dummy half. And again, it was his line. Again, it was his instincts. It's the gap that he spotted. And as I've already spoken about the third try, it's his instinct as soon as Reece gets the ball to make that run at pace and spot that gap. Reece had the easiest job in the world. It was a Sony that made that break. So those little bits of instinct and making those decisions is quite clever. And I don't think we've seen that from it's not all our props, but I don't think you tend to see that from every prop in terms of that natural rugby instinct that we saw. Or certainly don't see enough.
So what you're telling me, Reece, is Sam Lasoni is going to be our new number 6 next year. Is that what
he's got pretty good hands, to be fair. And did you see him kicking? Have you seen him kicking in that video with they're doing that video with Bentley, and they'll talk about really serious injury, Bentley James. How are you feeling and all that? And meanwhile, fucking Lasoni's dropping kicks off from just hit me like them. Lasoni's dropping kicks over the light from the touchline. And they're going, even Reece Martin's going, what the? So yeah, in fact, we've solved the halfback problem. Sorry, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. He's Sam Lasoni, the new number 6.
Do you know? And especially his third try again. Actually, the actual other thing I love most was most people when they've gone round the fullback, they'll chill out, won't they? They'll sort of jog. You know, they'll sort of slow
I'll beat
down.
the last man. I can just coast home.
I'll slow down to the try line. That's where Lasoni found 8th gear as soon as he made that step, and he was getting faster.
Something else that I loved as well, I'm a massive fan of players who celebrate before they've scored. So he's giving his hand up when he's to sing.
Alan Shearer. But again, I think that he thrives off that. I mean, G was saying that she loves Sam's reaction to hat-trick, roaring like a lion.
Yeah.
But, I think that's really important. But no, I don't think there's enough. We were talking about him last week about if he got a full pre-season under his belt and his fitness, he could be a real asset. And that's the sort of performance we were talking about, that impact off the bench that he can bring to a game. I think if he can continue that next year with a good pre-season, I think we've got a really good impact prop that can cause a lot of teams problems in Super League.
Oh,
Yeah.
Massively. I think this is
Yeah.
This is certainly, possibly, last couple of games and bits we've seen, probably more than we expected. Would you say? Would you agree with that, Ian? That this kind of version of Sam Lasone is more than we thought we were getting?
I think, I think it's one of those things where he's now he's getting the vibe. He knows how the team plays. It's if you think about how this season has gone, through injuries, through people leaving, through disputed players, through folks who've had to shuffle off, it's been very, very disjointed. And hopefully now we've got rid of some of the dead wood and some of the players that perhaps don't want to be here for various reasons, and we're getting folks in now that are hungry, that want to be at Leeds and want it. And you've got that pre-season, you've got that. He's now got the vibe. I think he's going to be dangerous next year.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree with Adam.
He's more than I
expected as well. Yeah, good, Reese.
Thanks for the comment, Eddie. By the way, saying lot pod fundraiser. Let's get Statman Reese a new camera. You need to pay me more. Lasone. I think like Paul says, they tend to see the best from them the next season. But I think we've seen what Lasone can bring. He had a really slow start of the year. We all heard Duncan's comments that he needed to be bumped down and get fit and get on a treadmill. But
let's throw Duncan under the bus.
Hey, he predicted we'd lose.
Did everybody know that Duncan actually said we should get rid of Sam Lasone, and he
did.
Found out to Bradford.
And he predicted we'd lost. We'd lose on Saturday. So
yeah, he did. Let's stick it into Duncan there.
Yeah.
Well, so Hull did the usual thing, of course. Is once we got in front in about the third quarter of the game, they had the usual fire drill.
There wasn't many people there to do it. To be fair,
they don't. They've clearly got that Wigan walk down to a T down at the is it KC?
Yes.
It is. So something that I don't think we can we've kind of glossed over, but I don't think we can, is James McDonald came back from injury. He found a nice gap for the assist to Hooley. A great kick, like Reese said earlier. Lovely kick through. I mean, his skill set, Reese, we've kind of waxed lyrical about him all year. But even with the kick now and his skill set with the offload to Fussy Tour, how have we found him? How have Wigan let him go? I can't understand.
Again,
how have we even signed this kid?
As Ian mentioned, it's someone that's been in the Championship last year. I know he was on Wigan's books, but he was on loan was it Lee last year? They've let Matty Nicholson go and James McDonald, and they're both probably starting one of the first names in a team sheet for either side at second row. Now, we know Wigan have got a good academy and there's probably plenty going through, but McDonald is contender for signing of the season and contender for player of the season. But I don't think it goes on. I think it does go unnoticed.
Young player of the year as well?
If he's under 23, I think he's older than 23, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
But I should know that. That's the whole job of my statsman thing, isn't it? But I think the work rate that McDonald gets through, both in attack and defence. But the reason why I rate him above Bentley at the moment is because
he's better than Bentley.
Well, I think he is because of that attacking flair. He runs that line that's a great offload from Fussy, but that kick, I don't know many second rows or forwards that would do that kick through and that execute it so well. The offload that he does, we've seen that quite a few times from him. And he's the one player which I cannot understand when we've done all these extensions this year, why he's not got one, because that should be a 5, 6, 7, 8 year, 10-year deal for all I care.
Yeah.
He should be next in line for it. But I think he is the number 11 for Leeds for the next 5-10 years if Leeds look after him right.
You can't believe that James McDonald was just back from injury in this game, Ian. I mean, he just kind of he's hit the ground running,
slots back in, and away we go again. Yeah, and with what Reece was just saying there, with the way that he's been going to. He's got a great pedigree, and unfortunately, and I think it's probably one of those things that with the salary cap, it might be that Wigan took the sort of executive decision of they can't keep everybody. Just in the same way, again, when Leeds were dominating, they couldn't keep everybody, and players were released. I mean, probably the one that most folks will say is Paul McShane was released, and then everybody moaned for the next 5 years about getting him back again. But the fact is, we probably at that time couldn't keep him because of his salary demands, because of who else we had in the team. And I think that's probably the problem at Wigan. And that is the benefit of the salary cap system, is that it releases talent to potentially develop elsewhere, and it doesn't allow clubs to hoover it up. And on this particular situation, we've benefited from it. Probably this year is the reverse with Walters. It's a Wigan lad and he's off back home. So, that's kind of fair enough. We could have offered him the moon on a stick and he probably still wouldn't have stayed. So we've got to suck it up. But if Wigan are prepared, we're prepared to let him go, then we'll quite happily hoover him up. It beats the 1980s when we used to sign, 35-year-old cart horses from Wigan who were over the hill and finished. Let's get somebody who's 22 and hungry. And if they've got any more lying around that they don't fancy keeping on, then we'll happily have them if they're I mean, was he England Academy? I think Academy International.
In the same side, England Academy with Walters, Muzz, Corey, and some others when they beat the Australian school team in 2018. Yeah. I think it was there were quite a few Leeds boys in there, and he was in it. But if you're going to ask me for the top 3 players that need to be in the side every week in terms of top 3 names that are on the team sheet every week, McDonald is a contender for me in one of those top 3.
Yeah, easily. And it's his first year, which is frightening. That's his first year with us, and he's hit the ground running.
Adams just said McDonald reminds me of Carl Albert so much. We've had that comparison a couple of times. Yeah, I think Mark even said he reminded me of Gareth Ellis. If you're getting compared to Carl Albert and Gareth Ellis, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Man of the match, Ian?
Well, I think it's got to be Sam, hasn't it? Really, probably, based on his performance. But as I say, notable mentions for a few others as well. But definitely Sam for his 3 tries.
You agree with that, Reece?
I do, but I also want to do my late honourable mention of the pod.
He loves an honourable mention
to Luke Hooley again.
Yeah.
3 tries, 3 games. He's getting a really good run of form. I again ran another poll. I got a bit excited with polls this weekend.
On X, yeah.
I ran another poll. Oh, no, shut up about X. And the question was, I'm really enjoying the form of Luke Hooley at the moment, and it's made me think, if we hadn't have signed Lecky Miller, who would you want to wear the number 1 shirt next year? And 79% of people said Hooley over Myler.
Over Myler, yeah.
Which I think is true. I think that's a really good testament of Hooley's form at the moment and the performances that he's putting in. He looks really confident with the high ball, so he's an honourable mention to me. Another honourable mention always goes to Cam Smith because Cam Smith made the most tackles and the third most meters and the most tackles. So Cameron again. It seems to be in full flow at the moment, which is great. So does Rowan. Just make him the official captain, please. But it's Sam Lasone, isn't it?
It is officially the Lockpod man of the match, Sam Lasone. You need to go ahead.
Just to go off on one of my famous tangents, of course, is obviously we've got Hooley's form now, and he's hitting his straps in Super League. We've signed Lecky Miller to come in, who potentially is going to be playing fullback. Well, the first question is he going to be playing fullback? He can play in the halves. Might he play in the halves? And also, as well, as if we're having this policy of developing championship talent or developing youth talent from the lower leagues, what a kick in the teeth that is. Of actually now you come in and you're starting to look half decent and you're starting to look Super League quality and you're looking decent at fullback, and lo and behold, the club signs somebody to take your place away. It's madness. I cannot work it out. unless it's a smokescreen to say, oh yeah, he's playing fullback, and Lackey Miller's going to trot out with a 6 on his back.
Depends if we can find a halfback or two.
Oh, I gotta say, yeah. My perfect scenario and slightly realistic.
Perfect scenario.
Realistic,
Nathan
perfect.
Cleary.
Right, okay. Realistic, perfect scenario is that Miley becomes that utility player that can cover halves and fullback. Mahouli's your squad player that could step in, and Lackey starts at fullback for me, because Luke is a very good squad player. But I don't think with Lackey's potential we mentioned when we signed him, you can't have that electric pace and not have it to utilise from fullback. For me. Okay.
So,
or is it? Or are we going to have a sort of James Lowe situation, who started off at scrum half for most of his career, and then eventually moved to 9 and was a revelation there for Leeds and Bradford? So is it going to be a case of that Hooley's penciled in for some other position?
Potentially.
Who knows in Rowan's world? Anyway, Eddie wants to move on to the next section again, so we better stop talking.
Sorry.
Nene McDonald, the elephant in the room. There's lots and lots of rumours about Nene, and we aren't going to touch on any of those. We would like to wish Nene and his partner, his wife, they've just had a newborn baby, so we hope that they are doing well, and etc., etc. But what we are going to do is kind of imagine if Nene McDonald were to leave Leeds at the end of this season. This could potentially happen. Reese, just how big a loss would Nene McDonald be if he didn't come back to the Rhinos?
Going to throw my 2 penny in for 2 seconds. People, don't judge anything until you know the actual stories. Because I've not had a kid, but he hasn't had a lot of time. Just let the stories come out, let him spend the time with the family. X, Y, Z. Right, if Nene lost, I'd be absolutely gutted if we lost Nene. He's, last time I updated my stats, sorry, I'm a bit behind on stuff at the moment. Getting married and moving jobs has not helped. Last time I checked, though, he was the leading meter maker per game in Super League. He's got the ability to create something of nothing. And if we had a fit Newman, for me, that's one of the best centre partnerships in Super League, if not the best. So if we lost Nene, personally, I would be absolutely gutted. Especially at the stage where we'd be having to find someone late to replace it. I know we've got Max in development, but Max is still in development, and he's had a whole year out with quite a serious injury. And then putting him in a number 4 shirt would be unfair, I think. So I'd be gutted if we did lose Nene, and I would be worried about what we could replace it with at this late stage in Super League.
Ian?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. The ultimate backline is your Fussy, your Newman, your Nene, and your Ash Hanley, isn't it? That's the first choice backline there. It would be devastating to lose him. So we need to do everything we can to make sure that he comes back and everything kicks on from there. Yeah, as Ginny's just put, I think we'd all be gutted if he left and went.
Devastated, being potentially the player of the year, player this season. We've spoken so highly of him, running out of words to describe him. And then, like Reece says, it's such a big loss in that our recruitment for next year is tough as it is. We have to find 2 halfbacks to start. That's incredibly tough in the current market. To add to that would require a first choice centre too, of, I hope, of Nene's calibre. That's what I'd be expecting. Someone who could do similar numbers and score similar tries and similar meters, etc., as him. That's an incredibly enormous task, which the club and Rowan and Gary Everington, whoever involved, already have an enormous task in the off-season in terms of recruitment. And it would probably be the biggest loss since, I don't know, I can't even think. And we are talking what ifs, maybes here, but, there was an elephant in the room, and we felt this was the best angle to come at it. But we do wish Nene and his partner. And these are just rumours, and perhaps come the next game or the game after, everyone just goes, wow, what a load of toss that was.
Just got to wait for actual official stuff to come out. And, it's not fair on Nene and his family. But
if he was to leave, it would be absolutely shocking. It'd be the whole squad would be, especially after the 4-year deal. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
I
Then
suppose the only advantage, if he did go, was that it's a quota spot. So it opens up your
Another,
opportunity to bring someone back in. And so it's not like if say we lost Newman last minute and we needed someone of a Newman quality to replace that, it's very highly unlikely to be able to get that without using a quota spot. So at least if Nene, looking at both sides on this, if Nene did go, at least we'd have a quota spot which would widen our pool of recruitment to be able to replace him. But my honest wish is that this is just stupid rumours, and that Nene stays with us for the rest of his contract, because I think it's a massive loss to us if we lose.
Nene, all we're saying is we love you.
No,
And we want you
don't
back.
go. Don't go. Don't leave.
We wish you all the best, and we want you back.
Indeed.
Simple as that. On to Wigan. We do play Wigan next. Usual to wrap things up. The squad, Ian, any changes? Aidan Caesar in, or same?
I'm not sure if we copped any injuries yesterday. I don't think we copped anything too big. I don't think there was anything too devastating to get us banned. Having said that, probably come Tuesday there'll be about 3 written off then after me saying that.
Sam Lasoni banned by prop forward union.
Yeah, that's it, absolutely. It would be great if we go and take it to Wigan. I mean, if we are going to sort of contend for the 5, we've got to go and beat Wigan. Simple as. It's almost sort of playoff football from now on, because we can't afford to lose. Win. Go give Wigan a bit of a rattle. They might be looking over their shoulders, definitely being in the playoffs, and thinking, well, I don't want to get the odd knock, etc., and go and get stuck into them. So I mean, I've got an interesting experience because I've got a friend over from the States, so that's going to be their first. Well, there's 2 of them. That's going to be their first game of rugby league ever. So, there we go. Such are the circles of which I move these days, you know what I mean? But we've agreed that we'll go and give them the sort of South Stand experience.
Reece, any changes to the squad for you? Does Aidan Caesar come back in, or any?
Yes, but not at the expense of Sinfield.
I thought you were going to say yes, but not at halfback.
I know we spoke with Josh, and Josh was like, he thinks that part of it might be that Sinfield and Caesar are a 7, and playing 2 of them together doesn't work.
I don't think we've got any other option.
I just played them both. So if Caesar's fit, I'm assuming he's passed his concussion protocol should have passed. So
yeah.
I'd like to see Caesar back, which means that if Nene isn't back, and probably might not be ready with flights and stuff or whatever, but that means Martin can play his second position on the chart in centre, and hopefully Ash is back as well to replace Alfort's on the wing as well. Other than that, I don't think there's really many other changes. I'm just looking at the lineup now again. On Saturday, no, I'd like to see Gannon get a bit more game time. Maybe swap him out for Walters, so Walters can be a bit more of an impact prop, and then Gannon can.
Is Bentley back?
He said he was recovering in that thing, so he potentially might be.
Potentially,
but if he is, that probably takes Donaldson out. So there's a couple of changes that can all ruin maybe actually. But I think the big changes for me is let's have Caesar back in the halves with Sinfield. Let's get Martin in at centre, and let's get Ash back on the field as well.
Agreed with all those. Go on, Ian.
I'm just thinking, if it's quicker and cheaper, given modern medical science, why don't we just clone Reece Martin 3 or 4 times and just stick him everywhere?
We should definitely be doing that without a shadow.
That would work.
That's centre, half-back, and second row covered if we do that.
Yeah, absolutely. That would work.
I mean, why stop there?
Free goal kickers. So,
Why stop there, though? Yeah. I mean, a team, 17 Reece Martins, that'd win your league.
Indeed, absolutely. There you are, you see. There's a thought for you.
So if we can just put that in an email in to Gary Everington, can we please clone?
Dear Gary. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, we won't have the quarter spots. We could have 7. Is it 7?
No, 6.
Well,
6
well,
if
it's Reece Martins.
6.
Again, I think that's enough to win your league. I do.
But if he's cloned in this country, wouldn't that be?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? Let's talk about this off air. To wrap things up, thanks as always, Reese. Thanks, as always, Ian. Prediction from you, Ian, for this one.
I think we're going to nick this. It ain't going to be by many, but 4, 6, 8. But hey, let's be positive, and I think we're going to nick this against Wigan.
Reese, do you agree?
Yeah, I'm thinking of a Sone touchline conversion. If Reece Martin has to go off last minute, concussion, whatever, and the Sone has to get a conversion from the touchline, we all know we can do it after the video. No, seriously, I think it'll be close. I don't think Leeds do. We've only had 1 or 2 games on both a loss and a win when there's been a blowout. So it's probably going to be my usual prediction, which is a 6-point win, because I think if we lose at the moment, we lose not by a lot. If we win, we don't win by a lot. So a 6-pointer for me.
I think we'll win this one by a lot. I know I don't say that often, but I think we'll win by 38 points. Jackson Field is going to score as well. Ian, thank you very much. Reese, thank you very much. Thank you to everybody that engaged with us on the YouTube live chat. We do live stream these match review panel podcasts live on our YouTube channel. So if you just search YouTube for The Lot Pod, like and subscribe on there. You'll be notified every time we go live. And we'll be back to review the Wigan game. Take care, everyone.
No, we won't. We'll be back to do the special interview with Gary Mercer.
Oh, we've got Gary Mercer this week.
Bing!
So we'll be back with Gary Mercer, and then we'll be back to review the Wigan game. Take care.
Emperor Ming.